Hello everybody and welcome back to another speed build video. Today we're building a B&M Hyper, but it's a wing as well. So I've been quite absent from the game. I've been working slowly but in a constant pace for the Yuri Industries series. But I wanted to play around the coaster builder a little without adding too many coasters to that park, because I feel like if I just added coasters then it wouldn't be the most realistic park. So I wanted to create a small side project that would be able to fit in a blueprint. A spoiler, it doesn't fit on a blueprint, unfortunately. It is a little bit too much over the 4,000 piece count. But I wanted to create a little side project to boost my creativity, if you will. And this is how this roller coaster came out. It is a really beautiful roller coaster. I feel like it is really aesthetically pleasing, I would say, as well. And it pulls really good forces. Now, if you're wondering how I came up with the idea of creating this B&M Hyper, before this video and before I started with Planet Coaster 2 content creation or Planet Coaster 1 content creation, I used to upload some POV videos over here of some coaster layouts that I used to create on Planet Coaster 1. We all remember that Planet Coaster 1 is kind of not the most smooth. It doesn't create the smoothest coaster, but it was enough for me to maintain myself occupied and stuff. And I did a roller coaster over there that's called Parasomnia. I'm not too sure if it's still available on this channel. If it is, it should be one of the first videos that I created, and it should be on the POVs list of this channel. But anyways, I wanted to create a B&M wing, and I designed it, and it was kind of strange. It was not the most realistic B&M wing, but I also wanted to create a B&M wing that was this high. And then I knew what I wanted to do, but I didn't know how to, turn it into a real coaster, because I knew I wanted to make it a B&M wing. I wanted it to be more than 200 feet of height, or 60 meters if you use metric system, just like me. But I didn't know what I wanted to add. So what I did was I used my random roller coaster idea generator in a way so that I randomized every single time up until I got the prompt of creating a B&M wing. And that's what I came up with. So what you guys are seeing right now is the result of me creating a B&M wing coaster, hyper coaster, with the help of my own random roller coaster idea generator. Now, the random roller coaster idea generator, of course, it always suggests you to create, some themes, use a theme, and then do some speeds and stuff. The speed and the height is something that I did accomplish, because it turned out to be a B&M wing that was also a hyper, and that it had realistic speed values. So that's what it ended up as. You guys are seeing me now, just the little thing. I added those pieces onto my wing coaster because I wanted to check the collision and the space between every single element, that it was fine and no element was too compromising in terms of security and stuff. So it gives the illusion that it's okay, but the distances have been measured for this coaster, so it's okay. But anyways, going back to the random roller coaster idea generator, I created that generator, and I don't give that much use to it, but I wanted to give it over here without actually doing that kind of video that I do with the roller coaster idea generator. So it ended up being something like this, and it asked me to do a couple stuff. So it asked me to do an Immelman, which kind of you can see after the first loop, it does that. And then it asked me to do a death roll, which is also at the beginning of the roller coaster. And I feel like it is an element that fits so well in this model. Of course, a little bit more drawn out than the death roll that we can see on Iron Gwazi, because we all know that these B&M coasters are not the most intense. They are fast, they are kind of intense, but not in the same level of intensity as Iron Gwazi is. So yeah, but it turned out pretty great. And I am pretty happy with the result, because I think and I believe it looks realistic enough. It's something that I strive towards a lot of the times. I want to make all of the things that I do as realistic as I can. And I think with this one, I made it pretty realistic. Maybe the second half is kind of stretching it, but I do feel like it is also realistic because it's pretty drawn out. The footprint doesn't take as much space, and yeah, I also, and I'm pretty proud of this fact, but I fully custom supported this roller coaster, and it is one of the main reasons why this cannot be turned into a blueprint, because I also wanted to add some other stuff to it. And in this case, the footers and the supports were something that were not able to pass as the default ones, because the default ones are not. They're simply not it. They were on many of the spaces. I was not able to place them because collision was, not good, and it was not letting me place them where I wanted to. And on some other situations, it didn't place them as I wanted to. And also, I used track piece with a length that makes 2 footers to be placed on the same track piece if I wanted to put it, and I feel like it was too many supports for that. So I decided to fully custom support it, and also that way I would be practicing my custom supporting on big coasters, because this is a really big coaster, and I think I made it. I think this was a really great achievement on my side. I fully custom supported this, and it was a really fun process to do. Honestly, you just put some music on, and you're like basically making your coaster sustain itself and in a realistic manner. So I found it really interesting, really entertaining as well. So yeah, that's what I have been doing on this part of the video. As you guys can see, I am fully custom supported the first element, and you'll see that it takes most of the video. I think this is the footage, the video that takes longer to finish, the custom supporting, because even if it's really entertaining, it takes quite a lot of time, quite a lot of time, because it's, at the end of the day, really small pieces that you need to work around and stuff. And even if you are not building every single support from scratch, because you guys are seeing here that I'm copying some of the stuff and adapting them to the height and necessities that there are on that particular place, even if that's the case, it's still hard to work with. So yeah, but I'm pretty proud with the result. I also wanted to still keep this with under the 4,000 piece count, but it was kind of difficult to do it, honestly, and I basically didn't make it, because the idea that I had as well was that I wanted to make this as a medieval castle. And it is themed. I don't remember the name right now, because I am filming the voiceover for this speed build a little bit later after I've filmed this. So I don't remember exactly the name of the roller coaster, but I do know that it's based under a medieval bird that used to be really, really common on the Iberian Peninsula back in the day. So I wanted to theme it under like castle theme stuff and stuff. And I had a really big idea while I was building that I wanted to create a keyhole, but like a different kind of keyhole, and a themed keyhole or head chopper, knee chopper, whatever, over the station, because it really fit. And so the 0G roll that you're going to see over the station, and that you have seen over the station, is going to have a keyhole over there. For that, I wanted to make it look like a castle. And of course, castles are medieval, especially castles that have a really big footprint, and they're really bulky and stuff, and you cannot have really high towers, because that's not what they do. They're really thick and stuff, and I wanted to keep it structurally realistic as well. So I needed to create a really big castle, and there were a lot of diagonals involved out of grid pieces and stuff, and so only the piece count of the walls amped up my piece count of the whole building quite a lot. So yeah, it is not possible to upload it as a blueprint. I will, though, upload this as a park file, because I do want you guys to be able to see this. And maybe if you guys want to create a park from scratch around this whole coaster, I would actually love to see that. If some of you wants to do that, please feel free to do so. And if you wanted to upload a video series on YouTube or whatever, feel free to do so, as long as you, of course, tag me as the original creator of this coaster. But you are completely free to do so, and don't forget to tag me, mention me, or let me know that you did that, so that I can see what you guys can come up with apart from what I came up with this, But yeah, so it is not possible to create it in a blueprint, as I said. But I'm really happy with how it turned out. It is pretty simple building. I was focusing more on the layout this time. Sometimes I focus more on the realism. Sometimes I focus more on the theming of the actual coaster. Today I wanted to focus on the actual layout of the coaster and the layout and the custom supporting. After all of this, I decided that the custom supporting was something that I wanted to commit to, because as you guys can see, I am custom supporting it all fully, even though this part was some part that I could have not custom supported, but I ended up doing it as well. And yeah, no, I do not have any single regret about that I can tell. So yeah, you're seeing me now change the colors of the train. They're not going to change too much. I was just trying to give some colors to the trains and working a little bit with that, because I wanted to switch from one side to another in terms of the custom supporting. It gets tedious at some point. So yeah, nothing too big over here. I wanted to theme it around a photo that I found of this ancient kind of eagle. It's kind of like a type of eagle, but it's like it has a really specific name, but I was not able to theme it too much. And I was like, okay, well, let's just not theme the train. And it would be kind of like a train that it's mostly themed. Also, by the way, love the unthemed trains that they added. They added this one and they added the Vector for the Vector launched coaster. Now we are able to create a roller coaster over there with more than 2 trains long. So I am really happy about that as well. But yeah, I also wanted to pull a little bit of inspiration from Maximus Flonder, whatever, in Legoland Germany, with that Lego low poly kind of look, but I was absolutely unable to do that. So yeah, it doesn't matter. It's okay. So it was a try. I tried and it didn't work. It is okay. We'll continue just with the building of the supports. This is again another piece of footage that I did all the day and worked on it on another day. And yeah, honestly, I really do feel like B&M should branch out and start doing big coasters of other types, like maybe some the hyper market. I feel like it is mostly done for B&M, because if the parks don't have a hyper, it's because they cannot afford it. And the parks that already have one hyper, they're not going to buy your new hyper or Giga, even if they are completely renewed, because they already have one and they have really good durability, so why not create a hyper wing coaster, and that is going to give you a slight difference on the marketability aspect, but I don't know. I really feel like B&M should start branching out in this way. I feel like they have started branching out a little. We have been able to see a family inverting wing coaster in, as I said, Legoland Germany, then Penguin Trek in SeaWorld Orlando, which I was not able to ride because it was having quite a lot of maintenance issues, which is weird coming from B&M, but I guess that's how it is with B&M lately. But I did ride Pipeline. Pipeline is a really good roller coaster. I feel like they should be selling more of those. They're really good. They're really nice. I really want one of the Pipelines in Europe, for example, so that I can go visit it more often. But yeah, so this would be one of the coasters that they could use for them to branch out, if you will. And yeah, now I have seen also some footage of the new roller coaster that's coming to Six Flags Great America, I think it's named, the one that's in Illinois for Wrath of Raksasha, or I think that's the name. I'm not too sure, but I think that's the name. I've seen it. It runs quite smooth, and I don't see the rattle off-ride, because in some coasters you're able to see the rattle and the vibration off-ride. So I think it runs really good, and I think the layout of that coaster, it's pretty fun and pretty original for it being a dive coaster. It doesn't rely that much on only the gimmick of the dive. It also has a really interesting layout. Unlike, for example, Iron Menace, which I understand it goes to a smaller park, that is Dorney Park. It is a smaller park. They wanted to have a kind of cool coaster, but without spending too much money. So, and Dorney Park is a small park. It would still be, and it is still, even if it's not the most complicated ride or the most complex ride, it is still one of the top rides over there in Dorney Park because of how the park is. But having Max Force, for example, in that park and stuff, they really needed a little bit more of a punch and a little bit more of a standout coaster, and not just a normal coaster. Of course, if you're spending money for a B&M, then just go all out. If you're a medium to big park, because at the end of the day, you're not going to buy another B&M dive. So that's going to be your own one and only B&M dive coaster on your park. Why not make it big? And that's my process of thought. Of course, it is really understandable when Dorney Park does what they did, because of course budgets are not the same, and they still wanted a big coaster. They still wanted a nice, different coaster, and dive coasters are really good for that. They do give you the difference in your lineup. Maybe it's kind of gimmicky for enthusiasts, but the general public loves them. Me, that I have been working in Cedar Point, Raven in Cedar Point, which is commonly said to be pretty boring, pretty forceless, rattly, and the best restraints didn't allow for much airtime. General public loves it. Why? Because of the dive element. It's just such a good gimmick, and B&M were so clever doing that, because sometimes we forget that enthusiasts are not the main type of public that parks want to appeal to. It could be great if they appeal to enthusiasts, but enthusiasts are not going to be the main type of people that are going to bring money to the park. That is families. And B&M, it's a really, really good example of how being a little bit more approachable to families can make you win much more money, as they do, because even if they have been going with a reputation of being kind of rattly and kind of worse quality lately, they are still selling quite a lot of coasters. Why? Because they're intense, and they could be intense, but they're not that intense that they would scare off a kid from a family. And if the family doesn't come to the park, they're the ones that spend the most money on food, or most money on merchandise, most money on everything. If they don't come, there's the main source of income is not going to be there. So yeah, marketability to families is really important on these parks, and I really do understand why B&M is still such a big name on the industry. And if you realize it might not be the case, that might not be the case with Intamin, and that's why we've seen Intamin creating family coasters and inverting family coasters, yes, but still family-oriented coasters, because that's where the money goes. That's what makes a park be also apt for families, to make families come. You can have an intense coaster that would appeal to most of the public, but you need to have a lot of rides that appeal to the kids, because the parents are the ones that are going to spend the most money. And that's basics. That's like the basic thing. So I really do understand B&M having that, but I really do wish that B&M would branch out more on the intense side of things as well. Haven't ridden any of the B&M Gigas, I have to admit. I was gonna plan a trip to Kings Island in Ohio. Wasn't able to. I wanted to ride Orion. I also really want to ride Fury 3 to 5 and see what the hype is about, because the only Giga that I've ridden to this day, I think it is Millennium Force. Honestly, I haven't even ridden Intimidator. Well, it's not Intimidator now, it's Pantherium, but I haven't ridden that. I haven't ridden anything of the sorts. So yeah, that's Millennium Force is the tallest coaster that I've ridden to this day. But anyways, we're coming too close to the end of this speedbelt. I'm just finishing the castle, as you guys can see. And as I told you, there's quite a lot of elements going on around here. And I didn't even place the windows yet. The windows are going to be really simple, because this is planned to be a medieval castle. So it's planned to be kind of romantic and not Gothic. Gothic castles rely on a skeleton. So structurally, Gothic castles rely on a skeleton to be sustained. Medieval Romantic castles rely on the walls actually to be sustained. And this kind of wall reminds me of a Romantic castle more than a Gothic one. So you will see, if you guys see, Gothic castles have always a lot of columns and stuff that go outside and stuff. That's the skeleton that's supporting it. The walls do not support it, and that's why they can allow themselves to have bigger windows. But in this case, we cannot have big windows, because in castles like these, the actual wall is the one that it's retaining. So if you make a big window, you're not going to be able to retain all the stress and the weights that are going to come to your structure, you know? Kind of a bit of engineering over there. But yeah, there's not really a lot to say left. I'm just finishing up the whole theming and stuff. I'm going to add a little bit of theming on the outside as well. I just wanted to finish like this castle, and I was already self-conscious about the piece count over here, but you will see. I did not achieve the piece count, and I tell you that now. It is not something that I did, but at least I tried. So that's what it counts. The intention's what it counts, right? anyways, to just giving some finishing touches. Once again, this will be on the Frontier Workshop, available on the Frontier Workshop. You just go to the description. The code for it, the share code for it will be in the description box below. It will be a park though, so don't search it on your blueprints. It is in park form. I will upload the park and you will be able to do whatever changes you want. If you want to save the blueprint, you just need to delete the whole scenario and stuff, or divide the scenario in two, and then you can have your blueprint to paste on any other park you want. But be aware that the park has to have a flat surface for it to be able to be placed realistically, because if not, the supports are just going to cut through the stone and they're not going to be realistic. But I hope you guys, I think you guys are aware of that. And this is not a coaster that would be much apt for a terrain coaster, so yeah, not much to say on that behalf. You're now seeing me build the windows. I built I did not even pay that much attention to the windows, because I feel like the whole structure in itself gives a lot of detail because it has a lot of volume, and the windows were just the default ones. I didn't add even any single more detail because, of course, again, castles like these don't have that much detail on them. And now you're seeing me trying to see if I can do some piece count deletion and stuff. I'm not going to be able to. I am definitely not going to be able to. I'm just going to place some foliage now. I'm going to do like a wall surrounding the whole area so that it looks like a fortress and stuff. And after that, we will be done with this coaster. So yeah. Anyways, I'm gonna say goodbye now because this coaster is mostly finished and we're just missing like some cinematic shots and then the POV. I hope you guys enjoyed this video. Make sure to subscribe if you guys liked it. It is completely free. You can always change your mind later. Give this video a thumbs up and comment what you guys want to see next. If you guys have any suggestions as well, they're always appreciated. Constructive criticism is always appreciated. And yeah, not much else to say from my behalf. So I'll leave you guys with the end of this speed belt and some cinematic shots, and finally the end of the video. Thank you guys. Bye.